Hi, my name is Nick and this right here is the Mitsubishi Triton GLX-R. And this is a dual cab ute that is not only rugged for the worksite, but it's also very four-wheel drive capable thanks to some of the additional off-road enhancements this model grade has received, including Mitsubishi's Super Select 2 four-wheel drive system, and there are also center and rear diff locks, and I'm going to talk about everything you need to know about it. So of course, please like, share, subscribe, and let's get straight into the review. Before we start, what are some of the key things that you need to know before you walk into a showroom? Well, firstly, this GLX-R is an off-road enhanced version and it is priced from under $57,000 before on-road costs, and also available with a decent selection of colours to pick from. And on your screen, I've also listed out some other off-road dual cab utes that you might want to check out. And finally, for ownership, warranty, servicing and running costs, everything you need to know is on your screen right now. Moving on to styling, the front section being based on an entry-level grade, you do get halogen headlights and halogen top light sections, plus halogen fog lights, and this open radiator grille is finished off in hard, durable plastic, and that is the same on certain sections. But for off-road driving, you do get 2 recovery points, and along with steel underbody protection. And now, moving over to the side view. This version gets a set of 18-inch gloss black alloy wheels, but it is worth pointing out, whilst you do get a disc brake setup over on the front section, this generation Triton still uses a rear drum brake setup. But you do get these thick, chunky all-terrain tyres, and of course, being based on a GLX, you get black plastic mirror caps and door handles without keyless entry, and there aren't any roof rails or side steps, but this version does feature a black metal sports bar at the back, which does enhance the off-road look. And coming to the rear design, from this angle, it doesn't look all that special, pretty plain, and you've also got these halogen rear combination lights, which again, don't look all that unique. There's also chrome in the middle, chrome badging and a chrome Mitsubishi Triton badge, a plastic step-up bar with painted highlights, and finally, underneath, a full-size spare tyre. Here on the inside, before you climb into the cabin, like I said, there aren't any side steps and you don't get keyless entry, just a remote flip-out key that slots into the ignition. And in terms of presentation, it is a dual cab ute after all, designed for the worksite and designed to go off-road. So all of the plastics up the top here are rock hard. When you look lower down, in the centre, and the centre console is rock solid. And that hard plastic also extends to where you rest your elbow on the doors, on the top section, along the side and looking lower down. But compared to a Toyota Hilux SR grade, it does feel a lot nicer in the Triton, and I do like the layout of these buttons and the physical buttons down the bottom here. And you do also get a leather wrapped steering wheel that feels nice to grip onto, and that offers manual tilt and reach adjustment. There's also single zone climate control with physical buttons and manual seat adjustment, and although they are finished off in fabric, it is a really nice material and the seats themselves are very supportive. Plus the driver's side gets an electronic lumbar support. Next, moving on to infotainment, it all runs off this 7-inch touchscreen, which also entails physical buttons, dials and buttons on the steering wheel. And the system itself is pretty basic but straightforward to use, and this also includes features like voice recognition, inbuilt satellite navigation with 3D mapping, and that is what it looks like on the screen. And going into media, a 4-speaker sound system with AM, FM, DAB, USB, Bluetooth, and for smartphone integration, wireless Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto. And if I go into the camera function, that'll take you into a surround view camera system, which also includes a top-down view. And you can also look at your gutter view and a wider reverse view angle. And there are also front and rear parking sensors, a rear cross traffic alert, an auto dimming revision mirror, autonomous emergency braking, blind spot monitoring on the 2 door mirrors with a lane keeping assistant, adaptive cruise control with stop and go function with a driver fatigue monitoring system, and speed sign recognition. And there's also an analog gauge cluster over in the center with a small 7-inch display to look at all of your key information. And next, moving on to the drive modes, there's a four-wheel drive selected down the bottom here, and in 2H that is rear-wheel drive, and there are two different drive modes between normal and eco. And you can also swap it into 4H, which is four-wheel drive driving on a sealed surface, like on a wet road, and that also entails three different drive modes between normal, gravel and snow. And for off-road driving, if I flick it into 4H, that engages the center differential, which also includes three different drive modes between normal, mud and sand. And finally, your four-wheel drive low range, which includes normal and rock. And it is also worth pointing out that you get a center diff lock integrated within this four-wheel drive setup, and this button here is to engage the rear differential lock. Finally, for connectivity and storage, there's a 12-volt socket with a USB A and C port, but no wireless phone charging on this model grade, nor do you get the pop-out cup holders or a center glove box, but the glove box is fairly decent. There are also grab handles over on the top section, some visors without any vanity mirrors, but you do get a sunglasses holder, two small cup holders over in the center, and decent center storage under here as well. And the door bins are pretty decent, and they can also fit a bottle of water. Here in the back, with this seat set in my position, as you can see, knee room is pretty good, so is toe room, and headroom is good as well. And over in the middle seat, again, good headroom, knee room, and toe room is decent, considering that there is a driveline shaft in the middle. And in terms of other key features, there are map pockets behind the front row seats with device holders on the passenger side, a 12-volt socket with a USB A and C port, roof-mounted air vents on the top section with a fan speed control over here. There are also grab handles on the B-pillars and grab handles on this top section. Decent door bin storage that could also fit a bottle of water, and a flip-down armrest with two small cup holders. But it is worth noting that you cannot lift the bottom section, but you can recline the back seat to reveal a flat load space, and that is also going to reveal your jack. And for child seats, you do have top tether points on that top section, and two ISOFIX points on the two outboard seats. Right, moving on to the tub. So if I open this up, as you can see, the GLX-R comes with these hydraulics, and that is going to make this tailgate easy to open and close. And from what I can see, this comes with a plastic tub liner, 4 tie-down hooks to keep items in place, and a top toner cover to keep your items secure. Now, in terms of size, it is pretty decent, and for all key specifications and tub dimensions, all of that key information is on your screen right now. Under the bonnet, you are going to find a 2.4 litre bi-turbo 4-cylinder diesel engine, which develops 150 kilowatts and 470 newton meters of torque, and this is paired to a 6-speed automatic and Mitsubishi's Super Select 2 4-wheel drive system. And for towing abilities, payload figures, all of that key information has been listed on your screen right now. And finally, for off-road driving, front and rear departure angles, again, everything you need to know is on the screen. Right, moving on to driving impressions. Over the bonnet, there's great forward visibility, good side vision, decent sized wing mirrors, and at the back, rear vision is also pretty good. Plus, you've also got a decent surround view camera system. And driving around town, thanks to the electric power assisted steering, it's nice and maneuverable and livable. And in terms of controls, manual gear selector with a manual handbrake, so very traditional from that perspective. You will notice that the suspension is softer compared to what you'll experience in a Toyota Hilux, and a bit more settled compared to an Isuzu D-Max. So it is a really good dual cab ute to drive around in. But that said, it isn't as class leading as a Ford Ranger in terms of comfort, but still one of the better dual cab utes when it comes to refinement. So whilst there are some cheaper options from China like GWM Cannon, the Jack T9 and some other rivals that are coming onto market, they're still not as refined in terms of driving because they're not locally developed, they don't sit on the road that well compared to some of the more mainstream brands. And I think that is a strong selling point with the Triton because driving around is what you'll experience the most. So I think the value does come down to the driving experience, and as you can see, I'm on really bad roads at the moment, but I'm not uncomfortable. And although this is a base model, it does look like a cave in here, but the seats are very cushiony and supportive, and even the fabric does feel quite nice. And it is also worth pointing out that you can swap this into 4H, four-wheel drive for on-road sealed surfaces. And that will give you more grip on a wet surface, driving around the countryside, on muddy terrains, on muddy driveways, and that is something that you don't really typically come across unless if you step up to the four-wheel drive versions of the Ford Ranger. It is worth noting, however, that the driver fatigue monitoring system is annoying. You can turn it off going into the main menu, but like on every car, that resets itself at every ignition cycle. But apart from that, the adaptive cruise control was easy to set, just flicking down and going up, and it did maintain a really good distance. And in terms of performance, if I put my foot down, it does get moving, but I think it could be quicker, and I was expecting this to be a little bit more powerful. What about fuel consumption? Well, on your screen is what I was able to achieve next to the combined figure. So around the mid-8s, and the official claim is, from memory, 7.6 litres per 100, and I thought that was pretty reasonable. Now currently I'm on an unsealed surface, and it will start to get a bit choppy when we drive further along. So firstly, let's talk about drive modes. Two-wheel drive high range, you've got Eco and Normal, and swapping over to four-wheel drive high range for sealed surfaces, Normal, Gravel and Snow, which is perfect for driving around on a road like this. And if you do put it into four-wheel drive high range for unsealed surfaces, that'll engage the center diff lock. So let's just put it into neutral and let that engage. Heard that click. And there are also drive modes between normal, mud and sand. The all-terrain tyres seem to be pretty grippy, and this traction control system is actually pretty good compared to any other four-wheel drive dual cab ute that I've ever experienced. And going down these really sharp rocky areas, I'll just slow down. It would be nice if this had LED lighting, because these halogens are pretty average in terms of vision. So with my off-road driving impressions out of the way, let's now wrap up with a verdict. If you're after a very dependable workhorse with a fantastic four-wheel drive system and also a dual cab ute that is fairly decent on road, well, this model series is definitely worth considering. And as always, I will see you in the next film, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit that bell. See you next time.